Hi guys, it's Jason from Liberty Bunker. So this is the experimental YouTube premiere show. We've got a lot to talk about today. We have the 30 Tory MPs that want to block the no-deal Brexit. We have the Kim Darroch story still developing. We have the free climber who climbed the Shard early hours of this morning and got away without being arrested. So plenty to talk about today. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and you've hit the bell because we're doing more live streaming. We're doing more of these YouTube premieres. So if you're subbed and you hit the bell, you'll get the latest notifications when we go live, when we start streaming. So let's get into the first big story of today. More than 30 Tory MPs have come out and said they will block a no-deal Brexit. Now, let's assume Boris Johnson will be the next Prime Minister, the next leader of the Tory parties. He is saying he is going to get us out of the European Union on the 31st of October. Let me know your thoughts on this one. We have the live chat box down below. So put comments in there. Let me know. Will we leave on the 31st of October? Will we still be tied in? Will there be a further extension of Article 50? Now, the way I see it, I can only see us, if we're going to leave on the 31st of October, it will have to be under a no-deal Brexit. You know, there just isn't the time now from when, let's assume it's Boris Johnson, takes his position as next Tory leader. Juncker's not even going to be replaced until the 1st of November. That's the day after we're supposed to leave. Juncker's going to sit on his hands. He has no interest in renegotiating with the UK. How is any negotiation going to go through? It's almost impossible, in my opinion, unless we see a major melting of the frost from the European Union and they suddenly start warming to the idea of any further deal with the UK. But in my opinion, very unlikely. If we're going to leave on the 31st of October, which I think the chance realistically is less than 50%, we'll leave on or before the 31st of October. If we do leave, it have to be under a no deal. But now we have at least 30 Tory MPs coming out saying they are going to block a no deal Brexit. So what's Boris Johnson to do now? Assuming it's Boris Johnson, is he going to prorogue Parliament? I think that is a very unlikely outcome. I think Boris Johnson is very much the career Tory. I can't see him doing anything as radical as that. Plus, you need the Queen to get involved in that as well. Don't forget, Theresa May told us over 100 times before the previous March deadline that the UK would leave in March. And look, we're still here. So I have almost zero faith in either Jeremy Hunt or Boris Johnson to get us out on the 31st of October. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Put something in the chat box if you agree or disagree. So probably the biggest developing story coming out yesterday and developing further today is the Sir Kim Darroch story. Now, in memos seen by the Daily Mail on yesterday, these are some of the things that Kim Darroch was saying about the Trump administration, Donald Trump himself. He describes conflicts within Trump's White House, verified with his own sources as knife fights, warns that Trump could have been indebted to dodgy Russians, that's largely been. We've had the full investigations in America now. There's no links between Trump and the Russians, in my opinion, and that's the verdict of all the investigations. Claims the president economic policies could wreck the world trade system. Says the scandal-hit presidency could crash and burn, and that we could be at the beginning of a downward spiral that leads to disgrace and downfall, and voices fears that Trump could still attack Iran. So very negative words there from the UK ambassador in America. Now, the Prime Minister May, has come out today. So this is from the Prime Minister's official spokeswoman, said that Mrs. May has full faith in her ambassador to Washington, and ambassadors provide honest, unvarnished assessment of politics in their country. Now, I think Trump very much understands politics very well. He knows the constant backstab. No one has more critics than Donald Trump. I'm neutral on Donald Trump. I like some of the things he says, also disagree with a lot of things he says. I'm very pro-liberty. Donald Trump isn't really that pro-liberty. I think he's taken the Republican Party in quite an interesting direction. Probably not necessarily the best direction, but in my opinion, he's certainly better than many of the other alternatives, especially those from the Democrat Party. I think Donald Trump is now still very high in the opinion polls in America. It's quite likely, if the economy stays intact before the 2020 re-elections, I think if he can keep the economy intact for another year, it's quite likely we'll see 4 more years of Trump. If the wheels fall off the economy, then it's going to look very bad on Trump, because he's been telling the world for the last 3 years that we've got this amazing American economy, but if the wheels fall off it, it's going to look very bad on him. I'm not positive everything that Trump's doing for the American economy, but it's probably better than what the Democrats are doing anyway. But the interesting development in this Kim Darroch story is now this Brexit conspiracy that's coming out. So rumours from source close to Isabel Oakeshott, the political journalist who obtained the leaked memos, they were passed to her and then published in the Mail on Sunday because she's a well-known Brexiteer. So is this taking down the backstabbing of Kim Darroch? Is this related to Brexit? Now, the source said there are pro-Brexit officials who the civil service is There are pro-Brexit officials who the civil service believe I've got the quote wrong here. So there are pro-Brexit officials who the civil service believe are institutionally remain. I think it's a badly written quote of where we're taking this one from. Anyway, the point is people believe the civil service is institutionally pro-Remain, which, yeah, I agree with that. You know, I have some, when I used to live in London, there were a few people that, you know, I knew that worked in the civil service. And this was actually just as the Brexit referendum had developed, and loads of them were telling me, at least two different sources were telling me they were like pro-Remainers, and they were literally going to just drag their heels over this any negotiations, any developments for Brexit. I know it's only two people, doesn't represent everybody in the civil service, but I had my eyes quite opened by the honesty of some of these civil servants. So it doesn't surprise me that the civil service is institutionally pro-Remain. So a quote from a source close to Isabel Oakeshott: "There is certainly the view that Sir Kim, with his long background in Brussels and a former advisor to Tony Blair on Europe, has not made the most of his time in Washington to explore post-Brexit opportunities." So he's obviously pro-Remain. Is he being taken down because, you know, the pro-Brexiteers, or the limited pro-Brexiteers in government, someone wanted to take him down? I think that's quite possible. I think that's still a conspiracy theory at this point. But ultimately, I don't think Donald Trump is too fazed by these remarks have come out against him. You know, Donald Trump knows all the backstabbing. He's got virtually half of America. You know, America's so polarised in its politics, much like the UK is becoming now, that I think this is just water off a duck's back for Trump. I don't think it affects the long-term relations between America and the UK in any large way. Whether you love Trump or hate him, you know, in a post-Brexit world, it makes sense that the UK, you know, remains friends with as many countries as it can for the long-term future of the UK. So Deutsche Bank. Now, I talked about Deutsche Bank partly in an earlier video. So Deutsche Bank cutting 18,000 jobs worldwide. That's starting today. Like, many of these jobs are going to be lost in London. You know, London, New York are both going to bear the brunt, as well as jobs in Asia. Now, part of this is because German employment laws are very strict, which makes it quite difficult to make people redundant. So Deutsche Bank are going down the road of actually making more people redundant overseas. That's obviously partly political because they're essentially at root a German company. So they want to protect jobs in Germany. Also, German employment law is quite strict compared to the UK, compared to America. You know, it's harder to fire people, harder to make people redundant. So they're keeping more percentage jobs from their German operations and letting more people go in London, New York, Asia, etc. Now, this could be a mistake because the overseas operations of Deutsche Bank are really the real profit makers. Now, obviously, this company needs to be restructured. They're setting up the bad bank to put all their bad assets in, which I often just think that's out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't really solve the longer term picture. But they're setting up this bad bank anyway for all their bad assets. But it's quite interesting that they're taking the jobs from London, taking the jobs from New York, from Asia, and keeping the jobs in Germany, partly because of German employment law. But longer term, this could actually affect them worse in the longer term due to the fact that the overseas operations are more profitable than like their domestic operations. So keep a close eye on Deutsche Bank. If this bank fails, it could be incredibly bad, not only for Germany, not only for Europe, but it could potentially bring down the whole global economy in the same way Lehman Brothers, etc. in 07, 08. So definitely keep a close eye on Deutsche Bank. We're definitely doing more analysis, more research as that story develops with Deutsche Bank. So Facebook, are you a Facebook user? So there's interesting data from a analytical company called Mixpanel. And their data shows that Facebook interactions on the Facebook app are down 38% in the last year. So this goes from June 2018 to June 2019, so the month just gone. Basically in the last 12 months, interactions on Facebook's app are down 38%. Now, is this the party over for Facebook? I mean, many other social media platforms are still growing. Obviously, Facebook was one of the, after MySpace, it was the one that really dominated. It's got big and it's got big fast. You know, this company has a market cap of 557 billion US dollars. Now, will this company continue to grow? I think Facebook has gone down quite an interesting path. It definitely seems to be with the other big platforms. It's quite Mark Zuckerberg, a little bit controversial on the things he does. There's quite a lot of conspiracies over them meddling in the Trump campaign. Definitely certainly anti-Trump stuff. This definitely isn't pro-Trump stuff. Zuckerberg's gone before the Congress before and testified. So it's interesting. Where will we go now? Are you a supporter of Facebook? Do you use Facebook, or are you looking to get off Facebook? Let me know in the comments below. Love to know your thoughts and opinions on this. Maybe we can get our own data from the Liberty Bunker show and try and get an idea of where the direction of Facebook is going. Now, Facebook obviously getting involved in new markets now. We've got the Facebook quote-unquote cryptocurrency. I mean, it's not really a cryptocurrency. It's a basket of fiat currencies. Anyway, that's the Libra. That definitely is an interesting product, and it's definitely a new revenue stream for Facebook. I think they're definitely getting into these new markets because just the traditional social media app, the social media page for Facebook is definitely changing. I definitely try not to use Facebook too much. We still have a Liberty Bunker page. I was thinking over the last few weeks of just deleting it because I'm not really pro Facebook, but it's just another stream. I don't think I really get that much interaction. I don't think many people even watch my YouTube videos from the Facebook app, so I am toying with just getting rid of it. I don't know. For the moment, it doesn't really add much to my day just to post videos from YouTube then onto Facebook. It doesn't really add much, but I'm not really too sure what sort of benefit I'm getting. And also, as Facebook's going down, is it really worth it spending your time? Also use Minds as well. Usually put everything I put on Facebook also goes on Minds, and Minds is a platform I'd much rather support than Facebook. So let me know your thoughts on this one. Are you Facebook a lover, or have you stopped using it, or have you never used it? Interesting to get your thoughts and opinions on this one. So the National Health Service. This story from the Telegraph today, and we have briefly covered this story before, so this is nothing new, but it's interesting how this story continues to develop. The NHS story. Waiting lists have soared by 50% in 3 months in some parts of the country because doctors are refusing to work in order to protect their pensions, senior managers say. Changes in Treasury rules mean that high earners can end up paying tax rates of up to 90% on earnings over £110,000 a year, which includes any rise in the value of their pensions. NHS chiefs say that the result, a high number of medics are cutting their hours because they say it's not worth their while to take on the work, fueling a sharp rise in waiting lists. He said the trust were considering paying £900 for half-day shift in order to persuade medics to work. Senior leaders said the problem is now widespread across the NHS and predicts a sharp rise in waiting lists across the country as increasing numbers of medics tool down. So what do you think about this? This is the problem with government. So the chance that, the Treasury do one thing and then it has a knock-on effect just to another government department is crazy. When people say, NHS, envy of the world. Is this really the envy of the world when doctors are refusing to work because they're being taxed at a tax rate of 90% because they're putting it on their pension as well? It's absolutely insane. So I think this is just government bureaucracy. The Treasury do one thing, the NHS are doing another thing, and now they're spending up to £900 for doctors to come in just to do a half-a-day shift to get these waiting times down. NHS, envy of the world, greatest healthcare system ever. Just recently celebrated, was it the 70th anniversary of the NHS? I don't know, it's not many government departments that people celebrate the anniversary of their inception, but the NHS is still one of them. But there you go. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Is the NHS being well run? Is this good rules from the Treasury? Or is it just wasteful bureaucracy from the government? I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on this one. So quite an interesting and more of a light-hearted story here. So a free climber climbed to the top of the Shard building in London. Now the Shard is the second tallest building in the UK. It's one of the most iconic buildings in the world. And what's interesting is when the guy got to the top, he wasn't arrested. So the Metropolitan Police come out and said this. Police were called at 5:15 a.m. on Monday, July 8th, following reports of a free climber on the Shard. Emergency services attended and a man went inside the building where he was spoken to by officers. He was not arrested. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on this one. I mean, I think things like this are pretty cool. Obviously, I believe in private property and, someone just climbing up the outside of someone else's building. Maybe that's not the best private property restriction in the world. But I think things like this are always interesting. It always just cheers up people's day in London. Obviously, it's a very dangerous thing to do. Maybe if he fell from the top, who knows where his body could have ended up killing someone else below him. But obviously, the guy was very confident he could get to the top. Basically, climbed this thing's free climbing, no ropes. So what do you think about that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe should he have been arrested? I don't even know. Let me know your thoughts. Should he have been arrested or not? We'll use your thoughts and opinions to formulate my own thoughts and opinions. But I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have been arrested. It's just a bit of light-hearted fun. But is this the unintended consequence of this? Does it just promote more people climbing up buildings or doing base jumps off the top? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on this one. But in my opinion, it's just a bit of light-hearted fun for a Monday morning. So the final story we'll finish up on is quite an interesting one, and I haven't really formed a strong opinion on this one, so I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on this one as well. So this is the Transport for London, the underground system. So supposedly from today, TfL, Transport for London, are going to monitor every Wi-Fi signal on the network. Now, obviously, you can use Wi-Fi on the underground, but even if you aren't logged in to TfL's Wi-Fi system, they'll still be able to track your Wi-Fi signal, like which beacon you're using, and they'll be able to track where you are at any one point on the underground system, like what station you use, what train you get off. Now, obviously, TfL can track you by your Oyster card or when you touch in on a credit or debit card through the turnstiles, and they get some data from that. But if you want to get from point A to point B, there's usually many different ways you can do that route. So I think the plan is, I'm guessing, is they use the Wi-Fi data to work out exactly how people are getting from point A to point B. The underground system is very complicated, and there's any number of routes you can take to get from one side of London to the other. Now, they're saying this is going to be largely anonymous, but apparently the experts have come out and saying there's no way it can be truly anonymous, because they'll end up building a profile on you, and if you're touching on Oyster, they can probably relay or your bank detail or your bank card. They're probably going to end up matching this data to which card you use and basically build a better profile of you. I mean, in my opinion, it's probably going to make the transport network slightly more efficient, and it is Big Brother. But with systems like this, you can just turn your Wi-Fi off and not be tracked. I'm generally more worried when it's the government, snooping in your emails, just tracking the police using data and things like this. If it's TfL, I don't know, maybe at some point they'll use this for anti-terror stuff, which then it starts getting a bit worrying, because then who do you define as a terrorist? Anti-terror laws have been abused and are abused pretty much on a daily basis in the UK. Well, let me know your thoughts and feelings on this one. Are TfL going above and beyond their remit, or is this just a sensible way of making the transport network more efficient? So this is the YouTube premiere from the 8th of July. Jason from Liberty Bunkers signing off. Hopefully you like this. If you have any comments or criticisms, let me know your thoughts and feelings on this. This one's gonna go live at 9 PM today, so hopefully you're watching then. Let me know, what times do you prefer? Is 9 PM a good time? That's 9 PM London time, of course, so depending on where else you are in the world. We can potentially move these things around in the future. So if you have any comments or criticism, would you prefer a morning show? Do you prefer an evening show? So I make these videos for you, essentially, the core following. I know there's kind of a hardcore, we're getting, the Liberty Bunker is getting good now. There's kind of a hardcore following that comment and like, I can see from the data, most of the videos when they go up. So we're slowly getting out. I make these videos for you. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on this. Any improvements, any times you would prefer for a live stream show? Would you like it every day? Would you like it once weekly? I'm happy to take on board any of those comments and criticisms and work to produce content that you like. So it's Jason from Liberty Bunkers signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.